Hello and welcome back to the Eyes of Ode gaming channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today I have another older game in my What Is It and Is It Worth It game review series. In this video I will go through the various aspects of the game, trying my best to avoid spoilers for new players, and give examples of similar games as well as my personal opinion as to whether I would recommend the game with a thumbs up or thumbs down, and if I personally enjoyed it. I won't be giving a number rating to the game as many other channels do, as I find this to be a very arbitrary way of rating games, which like any other entertainment is completely subjective, and instead I prefer to give enough info for you to make a decision on your own if you would like to go forward with picking up this title for yourself. Today's game we are looking at is Wolfenstein The New Order. Wolfenstein is an action-adventure first-person shooter game developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was released back in May of 2014 for PC, both PS3 and PS4, as well as Xbox 360 and Xbox One. So there's been at least 6 years from the time of release to when you're watching this video. This game is the 7th in the Wolfenstein franchise, which follows the character William, or BJ Blazkowicz, while he fights the Nazis in an alternate timeline from our own. The big alteration in this timeline is that the Axis powers won the war, and this has obvious major impacts for the entire world and completely changes the course of our history. Aside from this obvious change, there are other fantasy elements included in the form of technologies present, many of which are far too modern for the time period portrayed, and some very futuristic feeling tech as well, such as robots and attack drones. Although this is the 7th entry in the franchise, playing prior installments is not a requirement. If this is your starting point, the game will quickly get you into the action and develop the characters quickly enough for you to feel connected and easily understand the story. I would say the only prior knowledge would be an extremely basic understanding of the real-world war, the combatants, and motives for war, which should be fairly common knowledge for most people who would be interested in this game. The tech involved is probably the most unique and outside of the real-world counterparts. However, it is worked into the game organically and does not feel out of place at all. The game progresses as a typical first-person shooter, where you will progress through chapters fighting enemies and completing assigned objectives as they appear. The big difference and biggest asset I found from a typical shooter game is in the story and world building, where most shooters employ a very basic approach to storytelling, typically similar to a run-of-the-mill action movie, think a Michael Bay film. This game dives much deeper. There is a lot of dialogue and cutscenes which are used to tell you the story as you progress through the chapters. There are so many cutscenes and dialogue elements that the game actually works gameplay into them at times. You could be watching what you believe to be a simple cutscene, however the game will require action from the player to continue. The way this is worked in is done very well and gets the player involved in the story and what is going on. It is highly recommended that you don't skip these moments, as it is one of the things that really separates this game from others. Another unique feature with this game is the clever use of stealth and takedowns. Though many first-person shooters do include an option to do a takedown, it is rare that it is the focus point or a valid strategy to use. This game feels very much designed around the concept of stealth first and guns blazing as a more of a last resort option. Though you typically have the choice to approach each situation in the way that you prefer. Personally, I found that sneaking elements to be some of the most enjoyable in the game, and trying to take out as many opponents as possible before it came to the eventual showdown. There is a choice early on in the game, which I will not spoil here, that does have an impact on how the rest of the game plays out. And there are actually 2 alternative timelines which you can play through depending on the choice that you make. Aside from this one major choice, there are no other impactful decisions to make, and you will instead be mostly just working through your pre-designed mission sets. Something that really goes a long way to make this a great title is the fact that you get the best of both worlds in terms of epic moments you expect from a traditional first-person shooter. However, you are also treated with a deep and compelling story which will keep you engaged through the entire game. It is definitely a darker setting, with the tone being more of a dark and depressing vibe. When comparing to other games which are similar, you have obvious first-person shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield, which I think as a shooter this game does hold up quite well to. With world and story building, I would say it has some BioShock feeling, which although maybe not as developed as BioShock, still feels very intriguing and pulls you in quite well. And so now, do I think the game has held up and would I recommend it? Definitely yes. Whether you're looking for a good, well-made shooter or something with an interesting story, this is a great title to pick up. The graphics have held up quite well and the gameplay is rather smooth. Really, the only critique I can make is that the game feels a little short, however this is fairly common with first-person shooters. So I really hope you found this video interesting or helpful if you're considering picking up the game. Please give me a like if you did and consider subscribing to the channel. I have many other videos that I upload regularly, including reviews, showcases, let's plays, walkthroughs, and more. You can also follow me via Twitch if you would like to see me play this game as well as others in live stream. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.